Welcome to the latest edition of the DBS webinar series, Insurance Insight, where we tackle in-depth topics, dig deep into breaking news, and scour the industry for the people who can give you the information you need as a financial professional. In these sessions, we give you the tools and analysis so you can better understand the products and solutions that will help you help your clients. Now, here's your host, Kurt Fasen, DBS Sales and Marketing Executive.
Well, hello again and welcome to another edition of Insurance Insight. Today, I'm very excited because this is a special session, really something we've not done before. We've invited some advisors, perhaps people just like you, to join us to talk about their experiences, to talk about their strategies, about how they're bringing life insurance into their selling practices. And also, we're going to talk to them a little bit about what their experience has been with DBS. Our hope is that you're going to find this a beneficial opportunity for you to gain experience and learn from some of your peers in the industry. So let's first start by introducing our panel. Our first panelist is Sydney Rick. Sydney has been providing financial services and advice to individuals since 2006, when she established her private practice. She recently joined the Palisade financial firm, which is a Raymond James organization in Bozeman, Montana. She moved there to escape the humidity and the mosquitoes in the Midwest. Now, as an aside, being that I'm based in Minnesota, I completely understand the mosquito and the humidity based Sydney. When she's not in the office, she can be found with her daughter, her husband, playing in the rivers and the mountains and the golf courses in the valley. Sydney, welcome.
Thank you, Kurt.
Our next panelist this morning is Ernie Collier. Ernie is an independent financial advisor with Collyer and Associates. He has worked extensively with the public in a variety of daily situations, both insurance and financial. He is both an insurance agent and a financial advisor. He has owned a successful insurance agency from 1973 to 1998, and then began exclusively operating as an independent financial advisor. His experience is broad and is related in the financial needs for families and businesses. He's a long-term resident of the greater Kansas City metro area, where he and his wife have 2 children and 4 grandchildren and a lot of fun. Ernie, as a grandfather myself, not only fun, but kind of busy too, I'd assume, right, Ernie?
Always, but focus on the fun.
Absolutely. Well, Ernie, I'm so glad you're with us today.
Thank you.
And our final panelist today is Parker Rothhammer. Parker has worked in the corporate finance and consulting industry for over 14 years. His current role is the president of corporate benefit design and employee benefits and insurance and investment advisory firm, where he works on strategic consulting and using creative problem-solving skills to find solutions for his clients. Previously, he worked for Molson Coors, Miller Coors, and the Denver International Airport. Parker and his wife and their young daughters spend their time in the outdoors and taking advantage of the Colorado weather, which is beautiful, Parker. I just love your part of the country. I'm glad you can join us today.
Thank you, Kurt.
All right. Well, again, we're excited to have this conversation. I want to get the ball rolling and talk in general terms about the success and some of the things that you've learned along the way, specifically around life insurance and working with DBS. So, Sydney, let's start with you. How did you land where you are now, and how did you get life insurance to be part of your practice? Now, I know you started out in a different career and then made your way into an independent broker-dealer before landing in your current position. So take just a few moments and share your story, if you would.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I've been doing this a couple years, in fact, 16 years to be exact. Right out of college, I started in a career with a major national retailer and worked as store management with them. And it's a great corporation, but I didn't see my future. I just didn't see a future with them for the rest of my life. I mean, I was 23, right out of college. And so as I was just kind of thinking about what does my future hold? Where do I want to be positioning myself? I looked to my father, actually. He was a Prudential career agent and then went out on his own. when I was in high school. So I saw the success that he had. I saw the relationships he was building, and knew, and probably, asked him, what's your succession plan going to be? What are you going to do when you retire? I mean, it's maybe 10, 15, 20 years off, but I'm a future thinker like that. I didn't honestly know much about the profession. I spent a summer filing papers for him one summer, but what I did know was that he always had clients coming in and he was always helping them. They would come in and then they would leave happy. They were hugs. They would talk about golfing. They would talk about families and other things that they enjoyed doing together or in their lives. And that is something I could connect with. I'm a helper by nature. And so, I kind of fast forward to where I am now. I did get it, I shifted careers and got into this insurance industry and this financial planning industry. And it's exactly what my father was doing. I'm helping people and meeting their future financial goals and protecting their assets and just having those types of conversations, and then golfing and doing fun family stuff on the side too.
Good for you. Good for you. Thank you for sharing that story. Many years ago, there's no need to get into how many years ago. Yeah. I started as a career agent with Prudential as well. And what a great foundation your dad had built that now you are stepping into and really moving that forward. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
So Ernie, tell us about you and talk to us a little bit about how you bring life insurance into some of the planning discussions that you're working on.
Well, for instance, I've had the good fortune, being around a while, to have done just virtually everything there is to do in the world of insurance, financial services. I've handled people's personal automobile, home, and life insurance as a young agent with Farmers, which I did that for 25 years. And truly loved it, and had 1,500 families as clients, and I was 50 years old, and I thought, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I mean, it was just repetitive, and I become involved with a higher form of insurance and investments, and I made the transition with a little overlap from 96 to 98, and started exclusively as an independent financial services representative, and I really didn't know what I didn't know, and so I had to come up to speed, and DBS has been quite instrumental in that throughout my career, and I've helped people with retirement plans, sophisticated things like defined benefit plans, and just every aspect of insurance, and today I still do a number of those things, but what I truly enjoy is life insurance, and it just makes such a difference, and I've always learned to think about the account whenever I work with someone. I don't just think about one particular aspect of what they might need. I think of, what are the things I can do for them, and I've enjoyed, and I think that's a common thread with all of us here today, is we enjoy being around people and having a good exchange. But I always ask, and I have an agenda that my coach gave me once upon a time, that I use extensively, and I always ask about their life insurance needs, and it's the one thing I do that I feel makes a difference. Today with property casualty and so much of it, people can go online and do that, and I haven't touched a stick of property casualty business since 1998. And many people work on their own investments, and they might do a good job sometimes. I think it's times like we're going through today that people need someone to hold their hand. And but life insurance is the one thing I can do that will always have a positive impact on someone in their future. So
no question about it. Yeah, the impact that I'm sure we've all seen, we'll talk about in a minute, life insurance can have is really amazing. So let's turn to you, Parker, and talk a little bit about what prompted you to see the value of life insurance as part of the overall financial planning process that you and your firm take on.
Sure, thanks, Kurt. So dating back to high school and meeting with my counselor in high school, you sat down and kind of decided what you wanted to be when you grew up. And my counselor told me I should be a coach. And I never really thought, what does that mean? I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to go coach a basketball team, which I'd be terrible at, by the way. But I wanted to figure out, what does that mean? So I graduated from college and I got into investment banking. Did that for several years here for a boutique firm in Denver. Left there when I saw that the potential market was going to crash. We weren't getting deals done, and that's how we were getting paid. So I went to Molson Coors and did some M&A work there for about 13, 14 years. Worked at the airport for a year, quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. Got into another sales role where I was able to meet my wife, which was great. All along, my father kept asking me, come work with me, come work with me, come work with me. And like Sydney, I finally got to the point where I saw that there's a huge need for a succession plan with his business. And so in 2017, I made the jump and I came over and started working with him and quickly realized that life insurance is probably the most important piece of a financial plan, right? It's the one vehicle that allows you to really have protection throughout your life. So protect your family in the beginning, right? Protect your assets in the middle, and then protect your estate at the end. There isn't any other type of product that allows you to really do that. So it's something that is a very unique vehicle that you can use to help you all along the way while you're building those assets, like Ernie and Sydney both mentioned, but also protect you as well as you grow older and have kids and then grandkids.
Absolutely. That's great. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us, Parker. We'll learn more about aspects of that as we move along here. I'm going to switch gears and go back to Sydney just for a second. And I'd like to hear from your vantage point. When I talk to advisors throughout the country, I'm constantly faced with, well, it's kind of hard to bring life insurance up. I'm really more of a wealth manager, or I get a lot of resistance from my clients. My hunch, Sydney, is that you're no different than everybody else. You probably get some resistance as well. So talk to us a little bit about how do you ease into that conversation? How do you bring it up?
You're right. I think we all get resistance. The property and casualty markets, like Ernie had mentioned earlier, home and auto insurance is required. Before you buy that home, you've got to have liability coverage. You want to drive a car, you've got to have auto insurance. But there's no one out there mandating that we take care of our families and our estates and our livelihoods. As we all know, I'm preaching to the choir. So, I now work in an office where the focus is wealth management. And we make sure to have the conversation. So I position myself as the life insurance specialist in the office. But we make sure to have the conversation, whether it's annual reviews or whether it's out socially with every client. What kind of insurance protection do you have? And that will bring up the home and auto insurance, and we'll refer that out. But it also then brings up the life insurance. And if we can frame it as a value add or an educational piece, and sometimes it's just a matter of they don't quite understand what life insurance is. They think it's health insurance, quite honestly. And so I learned pretty quickly that there's a lot of confusion about it. And since then, there's been some great marketing firms that have come out to help promote. You know, we're just getting done with Life Insurance Awareness Month. And so that's where I just try to focus the conversation is education. Letting them know what it can do for you, what the types of policies are out there available. Because that's really all that I can control is the activity and the education. And then when they're ready to say, yes, I want to apply, they know where to find me.
I think that's great. And I love what you said there, that you're focusing on the activity and education, those things you can control. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest challenge that any of us would ever have that are in the business is if we've not had the opportunity to have that education with the clients, if we've not let them know that we're here, not helped them to understand the value, and then, you know, unfortunately something happens and they're not prepared. So I think that's a tremendous approach. So Ernie, when you look at the folks that you work with, what are some of the strategies that you found are resonating with people?
Well, I think I'll mention something that's a challenge for all of us is, you know, number one, how to stay in contact with our clients and new people about life insurance, what it is that you do, and to have a polished marketing effort with Life Happens, or, you know, so many of the tools that we have at our fingertips. And I think, as Sydney mentioned, education is a key part of it, and talk about what life insurance will do, and try to make it non-product driven as best you can, because, you know, I think there's resistance would be a great euphemism, but like I told a client yesterday, one of the benefits there's a number of benefits with life insurance. Number one, it delivers a tax-free benefit when it's needed the most, and it's exempt from creditors, and it just delivers cash like nothing else will. And I've seen this a number of times, and with the stroke of a pen and a few dollars a month. I mean, you know, especially for young people, and I think, right, you know, just for a few dollars a month, they can transfer the risk from their family, or as Parker was saying, their business, which is a huge untouched market that people don't, you know, really explore all the different facets of risk that they have in their business, and the buy-sell or the succession planning and the what ifs. So, you know, just to have these great advantages and to let people know what it will do. And again, it does focus on education. So.
Absolutely. And do you find when you're helping people understand those benefits, you're educating them, and their eyes are open? Ernie, are you seeing that they're receptive? Are they leaning in and saying, "Oh, I didn't understand," or do you continue to get resistance?
Well, I mean, I've done this a long time, and resistance is a huge part of it, and probably more than ever, you know, certainly the last 15, 20 years, you just tried to make this so soft and, right, just, you know, help people. But one of the things that I'm surprised at is when we talk about the different facets of a number of these products, people will say, well, I didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. And invariably, they can use it as a unique vehicle, as Parker was saying, to accomplish so many end objectives, and say, and I think we've all found today that traditional long-term care insurance just doesn't work. I mean, first of all, it's reimbursement more often than not. The price is premium becomes unpredictable. And with life insurance, you always have a situation where there's three possible uses, and everyone's going to win. Number one, there's a death benefit. People, that's kind of an oxymoron, death benefit, but it's you have the death benefit, and if you live, you have the living benefit, and if you quit, you can get your money back, certainly if you've been with it for some level of time. And the other thing about these reimbursement components of long-term care, people, even though they've paid for it forever, they are hesitant to access the benefit. They don't want someone in their home. They certainly don't want to go to a facility. And I mean, it's only used in the event that it's a dire situation. So I like this live, die, or quit. Someone will benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Parker, so your firm is involved, as I'm sure many people who are watching today are involved in what we'd call comprehensive planning. So talk to us a little bit about when you're working with a client, what do you believe your role is in providing that comprehensive plan?
Well, Kurt, it depends on the client, obviously. Each client's totally different, and you have to do a quick analysis of their needs and any gaps they may have. But at Corporate Benefit Design, we try to approach everything holistically from the standpoint of we can provide health plans, 401ks, we can do estate planning, wealth management, financial advising, we can even help them with buying and selling their companies. So we kind of do this circular, offering, if you will, which is very much similar to their individual plan, wherein you need to have all of the pieces for that individual to be able to accumulate wealth and retire at whatever point in time they deem necessary. Life insurance, like I was talking about before, provides you the protection from the beginning to the end, all while building a really cool asset that you can use for so many different things. I think comprehensive really means bringing new strategies and ideas to the client. Some things they may not, like Sydney and Ernie both said, some things they hadn't thought about, maybe, find very interesting because, they didn't think they could use that product for a specific reason. That's kind of the way we approach it. We see life insurance, again, as a keystone in a plan, and working with you guys has really helped us get the right life insurance for our clients.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I so agree, right? I mean, if you're doing comprehensive, holistic planning to leave one of the strongest financial instruments out of that equation, really kind of does not provide a full comprehensive plan to that client. As I've been in this business a few decades, and you've all been doing this for a while, and I know the folks watching today have been doing this for a while. We always talk about the death benefit, for protection. But Sydney, before we got on the call today, you shared with me that you had a story that you actually got to see life insurances in action. And I wonder if you could maybe just give a little taste of that to our audience today.
Yeah, thank you. It's always unfortunate to have to kind of come full circle and actually help, a wife and family receive proceeds from a policy. But yeah, I do have a story. And truly, I'm pretty lucky. I don't have many stories. I have a young book of business. I acquired some from my father, of course, but I don't know, it just feels different when you acquire a book of business versus when you truly helped an individual buy a life insurance policy and then have to, unfortunately, pay it out. But a couple years ago, the story is about 5-6 years ago, I'm a Rotarian, so I belong to a local Rotary club. And about 5-6 years ago, a friend of mine from the club reached out and said, hey, he called me up on the phone. And he said, hey, I'm a motorcycle rider and I'm going on a trip. I'm leaving on Friday. I think this was like a Tuesday. I'm leaving on Friday and my wife won't let me leave unless I have $1 million of life insurance. So I said, okay, you know, let's see what we can do here. Long story short is we found him a carrier that would temporarily insure him. I mean, you can't get anyone underwritten in 3, 4, or 5 days. But we found him someone that would offer him temporary insurance. You know, he paid the first couple months premium, signed on the dotted line, and we got the insurance coverage in place. He went on his trip, he came back, we finished up the application. You know, nothing happened to him on that trip. It was great. It was a perfect scenario. We actually, I don't think we ended up insuring him with that temporary insurer. We then found a better policy elsewhere. Nonetheless, we got him $1 million term life insurance policy. Fast forward to almost exactly a year ago today, I got another call from a really good Rotarian friend and said, hey, did you hear the news? So-and-so passed away, had a motorcycle accident on the pass. And I remember exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing. It stopped me, you know, right in my tracks. I get emotional even thinking about it today, but that's how close you become with your clients. And so I had to reach out, and luckily I knew his wife. He has children, you know, just a little bit younger than me, and was able to get her the $1 million payout within a couple weeks. We've kept in close contact since, and so the relationship continues, but it's just unfortunate, but it's also, I don't know if, I was going to say fulfilling. I don't think that's the right word, but maybe bittersweet that this is why we are here and what we do.
Sydney, thank you so much for sharing that story. That you know, that's very impactful, and to have the ability to be able to come to that family and while the person can't be brought back, to be able to give them that financial security with that $1 million, I'm sure is very, it's very important to them, and really tells you and all of us that we're in the right business. So let's open it up. Ernie, did you have an experience or any story you wanted to share?
Well, one that has resonated with me literally from the time I started. I had a young salesman. He was older than I was. I was really young at the start, but he was one of my first 5 clients. His name's Larry, and he was a salesman for a lighting company, and he's heavy smoker, blowing and going, pot of coffee every day, and he's going 80 miles an hour all the time. And he's married to a really nice lady, Virginia, has 4 children, and on top of everything else, he was diabetic, and I set him up with $250,000 worth of term insurance that I converted to a permanent policy in 1988, and it was $500 a month. Well, Larry said, that's a lot of money. And he said, but I'll never save $250,000, and I want to take care of Virginia. And this went on for 10, 12 years, and he became disabled because of his diabetes. He was broke. He had spent all the cash value out of the life insurance policy. The policy was about to lapse. His son, Jeff, who is now a client and always has been, he stepped up and paid the premium for his father. And for the last couple of years, Larry died in 2002. Well, I delivered the $250,000 check to Virginia, and like Sydney was saying, it is emotional, and it touches all of us. But Virginia lived independently for another 20 years. Wow. And now I still provide services for the family. Jeff extensively with a small business and a succession plan, and I won't bore you with that story, but I'm now on my third generation in the Johnson in their household. Wow. And so back to the stroke of a pen, this was all done.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Ernie. Parker, do you have any comments you'd like to add to the conversation?
Taking both Sydney and Ernie's accounts into account, one thing that's really unique in what we do is when somebody unfortunately has an incident where they pass away, there are so many people that show up to that person after the fact saying, here, give me money. This is going to cost X. The accountant, the attorneys, the appraiser, there's so many people that show up and do that. We're the only ones who get to show up and say, here's a check, right? Because you followed our advice and did what we said, we get to come to the table and provide, funds to somebody to help pay for a lot of that, to help pay for the estate. It is just such a unique place to be the one to help and, to know that you did the right thing. I think it instills a lot of confidence in what we do, and makes a lot of people that are out there maybe unsure of buying an insurance policy really, really appreciate it when that unfortunate day occurs.
Absolutely. I so agree. And it is a unique position to be in, right? That you're the one individual that's going to step forward and say, here's a check. I had a very close friend who I've known for 2 decades at least. We were just having lunch. He is an advisor, has been an advisor his whole life. And he had just come back that day prior from a funeral from one of his clients. And when he was going through the procession, the wife just completely collapsed in his arms saying, you need to handle everything. I know you've got it. And he had put several millions of dollars of coverage on this individual. And he said it was, like you said, you're overwhelmed with emotions, but you're so happy that you're there to help the family. And so that thank you for sharing those stories, everyone. All right, let's maybe change gears and bring it down a little, but also talk a little bit more about what it's like working with DBS. And Parker, I know you and your firm have worked with us for a while. So what do you value about the relationship, and what's it like working with our firm?
Well, I think the single most important thing that we recognize from a value standpoint from DBS is your ability to underwrite difficult cases. You've got a lot of folks that we may not have otherwise been able to get a policy for done in a way that was very, very seamless and easy. So I think you guys do a fantastic job with that. I think the other things are you guys have your ears to the ground. You're constantly finding new products, strategies, new offerings that we can bring to our clients that may be unique to a certain individual, but really fit what they need. That is, obviously priceless when it comes to working with the right client or right partner, I should say. And then additionally, the significant case opportunities that we have and the different companies we work with, we could find those elsewhere, but you guys provide it so easily and get us the best people to work with. So it's, it makes it a really, really easy process to work with DBS because of that.
And just so everybody knows that's watching, we didn't rehearse that. I actually just wanted to know what Park would say. And our mantra here, really our code here at DBS is making it easier and more profitable for our advisors. With the focus on easier, we really want to make it easy. And so that's why we have the experienced people in our underwriting team and et cetera to help. Ernie, I know you've worked with us for a while as well. How would you define the value of DBS or really what our organizations be able to do for you and your firm?
Well, and I think this is a common thread with all of us, that we all recognize that DBS has so many great people. From soup to nuts, A to Z, you have solutions and support. And it starts out with case design, as Parker was saying, underwriting. In case design, I had a young lady by the name of Annette Miller, who is an integral part of the DBS team, and then a wonderful lady, Peg MacArthur, who has helped me a number of times with underwriting cases, and even had a direct conversation with one of the clients over an alcohol marker and kind of brought the reality to him and said, well, drinking at work isn't really what you should be doing.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, but anyway, but the field relationship people, John Rowe, I had, he helped me put together a great presentation for a trust company here in the Kansas City area. And Terry Getman, we can't say enough good things about Laura Thompson in the marketing, and Lori Walker has stepped in on underwriting, and Allison Bagwell in licensing. I mean, it's just, it's seamless, and it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel to do anything. And I think our compensation is always fair. So, and I have, 3 cases that just would not have happened without DBS, and a large second to die, a buy-sell on a lighting company, the SBA loan with the alcohol marker, and then to connect me with other industry professionals, like John Rowe took me to lunch with Michelle Tisch, who Parker may well have already been have met with, in all the things that principal might do for the business case market. So I mean, just so many great people, so many great offerings, so much assistance.
Yeah, well, thank you, and that very, very kind words. And yeah, what with our now 50, got to do my math, 54-year-old company now, we've really tried to pride ourselves in bringing in top talent, and then relationships with well over 30 carriers, so we can really try to help you find what fits your specific need and the needs of your clients. So Sydney, leaving client information confidential, of course, we'd love to hear any specific stories you may have about your experience working with DBS.
Yeah, if I can pause that question for a second and just kind of piggyback on Ernie and Parker, one thing I would add, and maybe it is relatable to answer your specific question, but kind of a resounding tone, I feel like, of this conversation is how either we've come into the family business. I worked with my father for years. Parker, it sounds like you had some succession work with your father, or we're helping other family businesses in their planning and financial goals. But the irony, I feel like, is that DBS is also a family business. That was very much, I can't remember, I'm lacking the names, but I know Mr. Van Duzen started the company, and it's trickled down to Tori and Chip, and then that family has just spread, and you can feel that. So when I'm helping my clients and their family goals, it's very easy for me to say, I'm on your side, I'm supporting, and I'm gonna find, we'll get you what you need to do. I'm supporting you because I've got the support at DBS to do that as well. And I don't need to go through all the reasons why, again, you guys did that so well, but I guess specifically, and one person that I do want to say that I really lean on hard is Terry Getman, the estate planning attorney at DBS. And she helped me not, with a specific case, leaving out the client names. I had a referral from an estate planning attorney that they needed to fund. They were creating an ILIT, an irrevocable life insurance trust for him. But all he had was term insurance to fund that ILIT. And that in my mind, is just not sufficient. I mean, that's not good long-term planning.
No.
And he's not a young, spry guy anymore. I mean, when you're doing estate planning, you may have some skeletons in your medical history, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with the support of Terry and helping get, writing cover letters to back the reason why we're applying for this coverage, why we need this much, why we want to structure the policy this way, we were able to get him a preferred approval. And it's obviously the support of the underwriting team too, but that was a recent case just this year, and was very pleased, and certainly the client was happy too.
That's great. That's fantastic. I love to hear those stories of how the team has been able to step up and provide that value. And one thing that I would say all of us, most of us have in common that are here at DBS. Most of us spent time at a carrier and understand the inner workings. So Terry Getton, for example, she was the head of advanced markets for all of Prudential nationally for, almost 2 decades. And, I spent 2 decades at a different carrier, and so we bring a different level of experience. So when we're talking to carriers on your behalf, many of us have sat in those chairs and can have a meaningful conversation to make sure that we're getting you whatever is most appropriate for you and your client. So thanks for indulging me, all 3 of you, and giving us a little bit of insight of what it's like to be on your side of the table when you're working with us. All right, well, let's talk now directly to those that are on the call. And, we have a variety of advisors on the call. Typically we have folks that are watching that have sold life insurance and maybe are just doing a little, and some that are doing none at all, but just have some level of curiosity. So I'd like to get into your tips. What tips and advice, maybe sales techniques or strategies or just ideas you would want to share with the folks that are with us today? So Ernie, this time let's start with you.
Well, and as I've said a couple times already through our visit today, it's always a challenge to have a marketing plan and be disciplined and specific and measurable, and try to allocate a day that this is what I'm going to do. And there's so many tools at our disposal, and I think we'd all agree we're paying for some subscription that we look back and think, I'm paying for this, I need to use it. And it's just to utilize what we need, and it does take concentration, it does take focus and discipline. So again, you might kind of itemize what it is that you have at your fingertips that you're paying for, that is available through other carriers. Allocate that time, and then the other thing is the personal touch. Get on the phone, and we get challenged by the resistance, and then simple things. I'm old school. A handwritten note has a lot of impact.
It is. I just smile when you say that, Ernie, because in my role here and in my previous role, I've interviewed many people, and a lot of times when you're interviewing somebody, it's very similar to the interaction you may have with a client, and you want to make sure that connection is personal. And I always find it very interesting when I get a handwritten note back from somebody that I had an interview, and when I'm interviewing, in other words, trying to apply for the position of being your BGA, I still fall back on handwritten notes. I think it's more personal. I think it gives a little human touch. So made me smile because I thought I was the only one still doing that in America. So now I know there's 2 of us anyway doing that. Sydney, let's turn over to you. Where do you find your best cases, and what advice might you have for the folks that are watching today?
Oh gosh, it's always a revolving challenge, but I try to work smarter, not harder, right? And I mentioned earlier, what I can control is my activity and how I educate people. And so it's not just clients that I try to educate. It's also other professionals, your accountants, attorneys, even other financial professionals. Quite honestly, that's how I was able to merge my practice and join this wealth management firm. I was educating the owner of the firm and realized they had a gentleman in the office handling some of the life insurance discussions and education pieces, but he wanted some help. And so I was able to come in and find a role here for myself. But some of my best cases have come from referrals. So those attorneys that, I just mentioned one, and those accountants. And quite honestly, it starts as hey, can you look at their policy? Can you audit this? And that is the best place to start. It doesn't mean that I need to turn and burn on that policy, that they need a new, this one's bad and they need to get a new one. But it's a value add, and I'm happy to do that because it will continue to produce and bring more referrals my way.
Absolutely. And Sydney, you bring up a great point, and probably one that I should underline for those that don't know. So we offer a service called policy review, and Sydney called it auditing a current in-force policy. And as I talk with the team that works on those for advisors, like the three joining us today, more chance than not, it is, the policy's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But it allows you to provide an analysis to say, well, you know what? Actually, there's a few things that you could do if you qualify, medically. We could make this better. So I think that, along with your referral ideas, tremendous. Parker, let's go to you. Suggestions for people watching, and then strategies that you kind of find are working.
Yeah. So I think building off of Sydney's comments, I've learned a lot from my father. Kind of been a part of a lot of the cases that he has done. And then I tried to apply the same methodology to maybe some of the folks that I may know, which has been really successful. So I think getting in there and just doing it is the gist of it. That's how you learn. That's how I learned. We try to have 20 to 30 opportunities going at once. And we're constantly learning from each one and trying to figure out what the best fit of each product would be. I think working with DBS helps us understand best practices. And we lean on them a lot to try and help us, find and exploit opportunities that might be out there that we can, go and help people with, because there are some great products out there that, many don't know about, including advisors, right? Because we don't know of every single company that's out there with every single product. But you guys do a great job of trying to help us with either, telling us about something here or there, or even, when the time comes, we can sit down and say, hey, here's our need. Here's what we're trying to do. And for example, John Rowe will sit down with me and we'll go through a bunch of different types of products, or he'll bring one up and say, this seems like a good fit. Let's explore this a little bit more. And, I think that's kind of where we get our best strategies from.
That's fantastic. It's, there are a lot of products, and it is a challenge to stay ahead of all of them. I think at last count I looked, I think we have maybe 380 some products that we keep tabs on, and it's important. We're constantly talking to our carrier partners and industry information, et cetera, to make sure that we can help you and others to kind of stay ahead of what's going on. Well, I'd like to move to what I call the last word, and so that I'll give you a moment to think about that. But before I come back for last word, final comments from our three guests today, I want to say thank you. Thank you to Sydney and Ernie and Parker. These folks are volunteering their time to be with you today, and I hope that you, just like us, found this to be valuable. I know that I did. Learning about their story, how they're bringing life insurance into their practice, and how they see life insurance as being an important part of what they do every single day. So on behalf of all of us here at DBS, we appreciate what you do, and we look forward to working with you on more of your life insurance and perhaps some of your linked benefit cases in the future. So thank you. Any final words, Sydney?
No, this has been great. If anything, I was just thinking, I need to do more of this, kind of peer-to-peer roundtable, get the juices flowing and the ideas flowing. And but that's another great reason DBS provides, like-minded individuals all helping our clients.
Absolutely. Ernie, how about you?
I always find doing something like this, I get more out of it than anyone else. And, getting to see and hear others that are engaged, even at this stage, I still get excited. And I feel that I can move forward better tomorrow than I did yesterday.
Fantastic. That's great. Parker, we'll close with you.
Oh boy. No. I echo the same points. I think sitting down and talking to other folks in the industry that are, doing it is oftentimes the best way to learn. And, as much as I've become a coach, I've also become a student, and learning from these two and hearing what they have to say, has added a lot of value to what I can do and what I can provide and how I can go to the market and hopefully be a better coach to others out there. So, thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Well, and one final thank you. Thank you to all of you who took time out of your day to join us and be an audience for our panel discussion. We hope that you found the information that we shared today helpful. And look, if you're not working with DBS yet for your life insurance practice, give us a chance. We'd love to earn your business. So until next time, be well, stay safe. Take care, everybody.